I've met many of you here today. I think I am the program director for Production2030, which is one of 17 strategic innovation programs. And I was asked to say a couple of words today to you because we have been working on sustainable production and a lot of items in the circular space. And I'm going to share that with you today. Yeah. It's a bit slow. So just to start off with, when you work with manufacturing and industry and research, which I have done for the last 15, 16 years, there's a different, let's say, ljud i källan from politicians. So maybe you recognize these two people. This Fredrik quote citation was a couple of years ago. It's getting old, very old. And then we have the new guy over there, who's Mats Persson, who is our Minister for Research. And we met him recently at Teknikföretagen, and he said, "Hi, thank you. You guys are paying my salary." So that I think we all can sort of smile and acknowledge that. So manufacturing and production, which is the theme for this conference, has moved into very much more, I think, attractive and has a lot more strength and power today in all parts of society, including the politician side of things. So this is a picture that I borrowed from IF Metall, just to give everybody a heads up on is manufacturing in Sweden going up or down? I think this picture talks for itself. A lot of investments. I read from Statistiska centralbyrån yesterday. The first 3 months in Sweden, investments in industry this year are larger in manufacturing than the entire last year. So absolutely, we are in a manufacturing boom in Sweden. And I think all of you realize that in different ways. And this means there has to be a lot more people around to do the work the coming years. And Production2030 has been trying to contribute in many ways. As a strategic innovation program, we kicked off 2013, so we are celebrating our 10th year this year. And the directions from Vinnova when you start a program is you got to focus on some challenges that are really, really big and that a lot of people can collaborate on. So when we started with Production2030, maybe some of you were there at that time. I think Magnus was there for sure, and Gunilla and some others. We found that these 6 industry challenges were sort of the perfect measure to start off with, because these are very long-term, very difficult challenges that many, many companies in industry share, and that require a lot of collaboration to take to the next level. So after 10 years, trying to solve resource efficiency, trying to find new mechanisms for flexibility, working on more virtual tools, virtual production, also the human-centered machine and human interfaces, circularity and maintenance, and then integrating product and production development. Those 6 areas, we haven't solved them, but we have attracted a lot of collaboration, a lot of students, a lot of PhDs, a lot of industry actors in these areas. So I think we can say that we have achieved an increase in, I think, the mindset and the tools and the technologies to work on these challenges, which is good. These are some pictures. I had to share them with you because last week we celebrated our 10-year anniversary in Göteborg with a big conference, so that was great. And we can now look at the results from a 10-year perspective. Some of you might have heard that there are new things on the agenda. Something called impact innovation will arise and take the place of the strategic innovation programs in due time. And it takes time to mobilize people and to initiate collaborations. So I'd like to share that and also talk about circularity and resilience. Production2030 has, from the starting point, not only had calls and projects like a lot of what FFI does, but also focused on education, small and medium-sized companies, and internationalization in parallel. Because if we get all these people, the companies, the vehicle companies and researchers into the projects, why not use the time and the funding that we have to also create education, PhD programs, let's disseminate results to SMEs as well, and also have a look around in Europe and the world, what's going on in manufacturing, and get friends and contacts and networks globally. So we've been doing all these 4 instruments in parallel during these 10 years, and I think that's been very fruitful for everybody, and we've gotten a lot of good feedback from the evaluations as well. Today's and yesterday's thematics have been about been around circularity and also resilience to some extent. And have we done anything in that area? So I had a look around our big portfolio that Production 2030 has collected in 10 years. And yes, we have done, I think, a substantial contribution, which is good for the companies and researchers that are here today. Just a map of some of the projects. These are all projects that have been, I think, finished. All of them share knowledge between RISE, academic partners, and small and medium-sized companies and large companies. You can also find them on our website, but it's an indication that circularity has been a theme and a challenge from the very start and will continue. And I'm sorry that I can't tell you about our absolutely last call that we closed a couple of weeks ago that had the theme circularity in industry. And those of you that will get funding will know by the end of this week, I hope. But so we closed the program with a call theme that also wants to approach the circularity area, which is, as we all know, very difficult and challenging. Besides the projects, which have collected researchers and companies alike, we also have done a lot on the education space, because if companies like Scania, Volvo, and Volvo Cars are going to meet the future as circular, smart, sustainable companies, they will continuously need a flow of younger people and people with a pretty high level of education. And we thought of that. So Production 2030 has generated from previous generations a PhD program that we had the coordination role of during these 10 years. And there are a number of PhD courses that bears on circularity as well. So this is to tell you that a lot of people, we have about 70 to 200 PhD students annually. These courses have been available to them, and I can think that we have a lot of PhDs that have examined that also has circularity in their dissertations. Not only the PhD program has been valuable for industry, but also an ability to reskill and upskill people who are already out at work. And I talked with Jenny Kjellberg over coffee recently about a program that is called Ingenjör 4.0, which has been started in Production 2030. Now it's on its own 2 feet. There we have 3 courses currently with the circularity theme. We will be adding, I think, 25 new course modules in the fall. So have a look at Ingenjör 4.0 today and after the summer vacation, and you will find a big portfolio of reskilling courses there as well. So this is to show you that we've been focusing on circularity as well. Here are some of the other activities we do. We also reach out to small and medium-sized companies with something called technology workshops. And these are results packaged in a way so that smaller companies can dive into new knowledge, and the pace from launching a project, which is quite complex, as you all know, and transforming the results from that type of very complex knowledge level into a workshop that smaller companies can work with and acknowledge is difficult. And we have really managed this together with our partners from RISE and EUC, Industrial Development Centers around in Sweden. And just before the break, there was a smaller company here who also talked about learning and what that can do for their business. That was Green Kaizen, and this is other thematics that touch upon the green and resilient industry. So in addition, as I said, Production 2030, we haven't been sitting still at all these 10 years, but also have traveled. We've been very active in Europe. We've been active in starting up and being part of starting up EIT manufacturing, which is to the right side here, one of the big kicks that spans over Europe. Johanna Stiernstedt here today, who you can talk to afterwards, is the CLC director for the Northern Node. There are 5 more nodes in Europe. And this program also has 2 calls per year, and one of the thematics is about the lower environmental footprint in manufacturing. The Made in Europe roadmap, one of the contractual private-public partnerships, also has several thematics which calls to the environment and circularity. So I know it's very difficult to be active in the European programs, but there you have it. And then we looked at our own project portfolio some time ago and asked Professor Björn Johansson from Chalmers and some partners to look into our portfolio on sustainability. And you can find this material on Production2030 website. So we've done a lot in that space. Looking then outside of Sweden, there are some, I think, interesting facts to consider. We all know about geopolitical, tensions in the world that will affect Sweden a lot. And I gathered a couple of numbers here, which shows the United States, China, India, and Germany, and what production looks like today. And you can all, I think, add the numbers and think about 5 years from now. Will India's share of global manufacturing only be 3%? Which they're sprouting out 1.5 million engineers every year, so I don't think so. That will change for sure. So this is kind of the landscape that Swedish industry operates in, and a lot will happen in the coming years. So I really hope that FFI has a lot to cover, a lot to work on, and nobody can retire until you're 75. Not a chance. And looking ahead a little bit more, what's next, looking just in a couple of years ahead, this year, the Net Zero Industry Act is being rolled out from the European Commission, focusing on manufacturing more of the sustainability, energy type of items, solar cells, pumps, electrical energy intensive products. But also 2023 is the year of skills in Europe. It should always be the year of skills because it's going to be a challenge for all European countries for many, many years. But this is it. And there is a big initiative being launched end of May, called the Deep Tech Talent Initiative, which both attracts education actors, education companies, manufacturing companies and technology companies, academia, and some more type of organizations. And they have all then pledged to pitch in and help us in Europe to reskill 1 million people in the deep tech areas in 3 years' time. So this is quantum computing, AI, additive manufacturing, a lot of these difficult areas that you can then learn at different levels in the 3 years ahead of us. That's a big challenge. But that's going on. And you've probably, some of you heard of the German initiative called Manufacturing X, which is a German federal funded program. They are maybe finished with Industry 4.0. That's kind of getting old. So there has to be a new manufacturing concept on the agenda. And we will see what this takes. But I know that EIT Manufacturing will be digging into this. So Johanna Stiernstedt, again, you can probably tell people more about this later on. The impact innovation programs, which we don't really know that much about, they will kick off in the beginning of 2024. At the end of 2024, the Swedish government will present their research and innovation bill, which will be very interesting because I think a country like Sweden has to accelerate and invest a lot more. We'll see where we land. Very unclear, except that I know my colleagues from Teknikföretagen are meeting politicians day and night right now. So we'll see where we land there. 2025 is going to be the final year of Production 2030. And we've been part of the FFI conferences since we started. So now you know there is an ending, which I think is very sad, but there will be something else in its place. And we all have these really great visions for 2030, which our program also had, to be sustainable and competitive. And with the help of everybody, well, I think we'll get there. I don't know what you say, Alf, from Volvo Cars. So that was some thoughts from my side, and to give you a sort of an insight what Production 2030 has been doing and will continue to do in circularity until 2025. And that's where you can reach me.
Thank you so much.